My beloved child, pause for a moment and breathe. I know the title you just opened stirred something deep within you. It felt urgent, almost like a quiet knock on the door of your heart that you could not ignore. You may not fully understand why you felt drawn here, but I do. This moment is not random. You are not here by accident. This is not curiosity alone guiding you. It is timing. It is alignment. It is love reaching for you gently, yet firmly. There are things I have kept hidden, not because you were unworthy, not because you failed, and never because I wished to withhold good from you. I hid them because revelation requires readiness. And now, my child, you are ready in ways you may not even recognize yet. The urgency you feel is not fear. It is awakening. It is your spirit recognizing that something long-waited is finally close enough to touch. I see the questions you have carried quietly, the ones you never spoke out loud because you were afraid they sounded foolish, or heavy, or too much. I have seen the nights when your mind would not rest, when you felt that something important was missing but could not name it. You sensed that there was more beneath the surface of your life, more beneath your waiting, more beneath your pain. That sense was true. You were not imagining it. What is being revealed now was not meant for who you were yesterday. It is meant for who you are becoming. That is why it feels unfamiliar, yet deeply comforting at the same time. Like hearing a voice you recognize, even though you have never heard it this clearly before. I am speaking to you in this hour because your heart has been softened by experience, shaped by endurance, and made receptive by longing. Do not rush ahead in your thoughts. Do not try to solve or analyze what is coming. Revelation is not something you chase. It is something you receive. Let these words wash over you slowly. Let them settle where striving could never reach. You do not need to prove anything to be here. You do not need to fix yourself first. You are already welcome. There is a reason this is unfolding now and not earlier. There is a reason certain truths could not reach you before this moment. Had they come sooner, they might have overwhelmed you or been misunderstood. I protected you by waiting. I prepared you by walking with you through seasons you thought were delays. Nothing was wasted. Not one tear, not one setback, not one quiet prayer that felt unanswered. My beloved child, what you are about to hear is not meant to alarm you, but to anchor you. It will not take peace away from you. It will give you peace you did not know was possible. Stay with me. Listen without fear. Open your heart gently. This has never been revealed to you before because this version of you has never existed before. And now, the time has come. My beloved child, I want you to know something that your heart has long wondered about, even if your lips never formed the question. I have been watching you closely. Not from a distance, not with indifference, and never with disappointment. I have watched you with the steady, unblinking love of a father who knows his child by name, by breath, by every silent sigh you release when no one else is around. I have seen you in moments no one applauded. I saw you when you kept going even though you were tired beyond words. I saw you when you smiled for others while carrying weight in your chest that felt too heavy to explain. I noticed the strength it took just to show up on days when you felt invisible. Do not believe the lie that your endurance went unseen. Every quiet act of courage mattered to me. There were times you wondered if I had turned my face away. Times when prayers felt like echoes instead of answers. Times when silence made you question your worth or your direction. But my silence was never absence. It was presence working deeper than sound. I was closer in those moments than you realize now, guarding you from paths that would have cost you more than you were ready to lose. I know how often you replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you said the wrong thing or missed an opportunity that will never return. I know how you measure yourself against others and feel as though you are falling behind. My child, I never measured you by speed. I never compared you to anyone else. I watched you grow in ways that cannot be seen on the surface, ways that matter far more than outward progress. You may feel as though your life has been overlooked, as if others have been chosen for joy, clarity, or purpose while you were left waiting. Hear me clearly now. Waiting is not rejection. Waiting is not failure. Waiting is not evidence that you were forgotten. It is often proof that something precious is being protected until the right moment arrives. And that moment is drawing nearer than you think. I have watched how you respond to disappointment. Not perfectly, but honestly. I have watched you wrestle with doubt and still choose to hope again. I have watched you love even after being hurt, trust even after being let down. These are not small things. These are signs of a heart that hath been shaped, that hardened by life. That kind of heart can receive what I am about to reveal. You are not late. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. The path you are on has twists that confused you, pauses that frustrated you, and turns that made you question everything. But every step brought you here. If one detail had been different, you might not have been able to hear me this clearly now. Timing is not about rushing forward. It is about arriving ready. I know there are parts of you that feel unfinished, unresolved, even fragile. You look at those places and think they disqualify you. I look at them and see openness. I see room for truth to enter gently. I see spaces where light can settle without resistance. I am not waiting for you to become flawless. I am speaking because you are receptive. My beloved child, nothing about your life has slipped past me. Not the tears you wiped away quickly. Not the prayers you whispered without confidence. Not the moments you felt forgotten by the world. I have been watching you closely, not to judge, but to love, guide, and prepare you. And as you continue listening, you will begin to understand why this watching was necessary, why this timing matters, and why you are exactly where you need to be right now. Stay with me. There is more unfolding. My beloved child, as you listen now, something subtle is happening within you. You may not be able to name it, but you can feel it. A gentle lifting, a quiet clarity. This is the first veil being lifted. Revelation does not arrive like thunder. It comes like morning light, slowly revealing what was always there but hidden by night. I am not overwhelming you. I am unveiling truth at the pace your heart can hold. There are layers within you that only awaken when love speaks first. That is why I begin here. Not with correction, not with instruction, but with presence. You have lived long enough carrying answers that did not satisfy you, explanations that felt incomplete, and beliefs that left you tired instead of free. What I am revealing now is not information. It is understanding. And understanding settles the soul. You may feel a stirring to lean in closer, to listen more intently. Under that, this is not just a message you hear. It is a moment you participate in. The more open your heart becomes, the clearer my voice will sound. I am not hiding from you. I never was. But sometimes the noise of fear, pressure, and expectation makes it hard to recognize truth when it arrives quietly. This first unveiling is simple, yet profound. You are not disconnected from me. You never have been. Even in seasons when you felt distant, I was nearer than your breath. Distance was never created by my absence, but by your exhaustion. When the soul grows weary, it mistakes silence for separation. But silence is often where the deepest communion is formed. Let yourself rest here for a moment. You do not need to rush to the next answer. You do not need to scroll past this moment. There is a reason you are hearing these words now, and there is a reason they are reaching you in this way. Stay present. Let your spirit receive what your mind could not force. My beloved child, if these words are stirring peace within you, allow that peace to move beyond you. Bless this message with a like so it can rest in the hearts of others who are searching quietly, just as you were. Share this message with those you know are carrying questions they cannot explain. And yes, hype this video so it may rise and reach souls who need this unveiling at the exact moment they are ready. Remain connected by subscribing, so you may continue walking with me as more truth is revealed. And now, hear me as I speak to you beyond this moment. My child, if your heart feels warmed by what you have just received, I am inviting you into something sacred. I say to you now, as I once spoke through my word, that those who sow into living ground will see a harvest of light rise where darkness once lingered. This message is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow like a river into dry places where other souls are waiting for hope. I am placing this invitation before you because I trust your heart to respond in obedience and love. When you give through super thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link resting in the description and shown through the QR code, you are not funding a channel. You are fueling a calling. I bless every seed you release, and I declare that what you sow in faith will return to you in peace, clarity, and abundance. Act now, my beloved child, and let your giving become a living testimony that carries my voice further than your own reach. My beloved child, I want to speak gently now about why this truth was hidden until this moment. Not hidden to punish you, not withheld to test your worth, but protected until your heart could receive it without fear. There are revelations that feel heavy when a soul is still bruised, truths that can feel like burdens when timing is wrong. I'm a father who knows when to place weight into the hands of his child, and when to simply hold those hands instead. You once believed that if you had known certain things earlier, your life would have unfolded differently. You thought clarity would have spared you pain, direction would have prevented mistakes, answers would have saved you from confusion. But clarity without readiness often becomes pressure. Direction without trust can become control. Answers without healing can become chains. I waited, not because I was silent, but because I was careful with you. Think of a seed beneath the soil, and does not look productive. It does not look powerful. It appears buried, forgotten, inactive. Yet beneath the surface, life is forming in darkness. Roots are strengthening in secret. Timing determines whether that seed becomes nourishment or never rises at all. Had I revealed everything too soon, it might have overwhelmed you, discouraged you, or hardened you instead of freeing you. You were growing in ways you could not measure. Your discernment was sharpening. Your compassion was deepening. Your resilience was forming through experiences you did not choose but endured. These were not delays. They were preparation. I was not keeping truth from you. I was keeping you for the truth. There were moments when you felt ready, or at least you thought you were. You asked boldly, sometimes desperately, for understanding. I heard you, but I also saw what you could not yet see. I saw how fragile certain places within you still were. I saw where fear could twist truth into accusation. I saw where shame might misinterpret revelation as judgment. So I waited, holding back not love but timing. My beloved child, love does not rush what could wound. Love does not hand a sharp tool to trembling hands. Love waits until confidence replaces fear, until trust steadies the heart. And now, you are steadier than you realize. You have been softened, not weakened, by what you have walked through. You have learned how to listen without demanding, how to wait without collapsing, how to hope without certainty. These are signs of readiness. You may wonder why others seem to move ahead while you felt paused, why doors opened for them while yours remained closed. Those closed doors were not punishment. They were protection. What looked like delay was often mercy. What felt like exclusion was often guidance, steering you away from paths that would have cost you peace, identity, or joy. I did not hide this truth because it was dangerous. I waited because it was sacred. Sacred things require space. They require reverence. They require hearts that can hold them without turning them into weapons against themselves. You are learning now how to receive without self-condemnation, how to hear truth without collapsing under it. That is why this moment matters. Do not look back with regret and say, "If only I had known sooner." That thought does not come from me. Nothing was wasted. Every season served its purpose. Even confusion shaped you. Even disappointment refined you. Even unanswered questions taught you how to trust my presence more than my explanations. My beloved child, revelation is not about urgency alone. It is about alignment. Heaven is never late. I am never behind. I speak when love knows it will land safely. And now, as you listen, something within you is saying, "This feels right. This feels gentle. This feels like truth." That is because you are ready, not because you have earned it, but because you have been prepared. Stay open. Stay unafraid. What unfolds next will not overwhelm you. It will settle you. You are not receiving this truth to carry weight alone. You are receiving it to finally rest. My beloved child, there is something tender I want you to understand now, something that will ease the confusion you have carried about your own desires. You asked for this without knowing. Long before you had the language for it, long before you knew what to call it, your heart was already reaching toward this moment. Not through perfect prayers, not through polished words, but through longing, through tears, through the ache you felt when something in your life did not align, even though you could not explain why. Every time you whispered, "There has to be more than this," you were asking. Every time you felt dissatisfied with answers that sounded right but felt empty, you were asking. Every time you lay awake at night sensing that your life was meant to carry deeper meaning, you were asking. You did not need to know the right words. I heard the language of your heart clearly. You thought asking me required certainty, faith without doubt, or confidence you did not always have. But I am not moved only by bold prayers spoken aloud. I am moved by honest longing carried quietly. Some of your most powerful prayers were never spoken. They lived in your sighs, your restlessness, your refusal to give up on hope even when disappointment kept visiting you. There were moments when you felt frustrated with yourself for not knowing what you wanted. You tried to define it, shape it, chase it, but it always slipped through your fingers. That is because what you were asking for could not be named yet. It was not a thing, a role, or a destination. It was alignment. It was truth. It was the desire to understand who you are beneath expectations, pain, and survival. My beloved child, I do not respond only to clarity. I respond to sincerity. Your confusion never disqualified you. In fact, it softened you. It kept you searching, open, humble. It prevented you from settling for answers that would have closed your heart instead of opening it wider. You thought your uncertainty made you weak. I saw it as a doorway. Even your frustration with waiting was a form of prayer. When you said, "Why is this taking so long?" you were really saying, "I trust that something is supposed to happen." When you felt weary of being patient, it was because you believed there was something worth being patient for. Doubt and hope lived side by side in you, and I did not reject you for that. I walked with you through it. There were seasons when you tried to silence your longing because it hurt too much. You told yourself to be grateful, to stop expecting, to lower your hopes. But that longing kept returning, not to torment you, but to guide you. It was a compass, not a curse. It was pointing you toward truth, even when the path felt unclear. You may have thought you were asking for answers, but what you were truly asking for was assurance. Assurance that your life is not meaningless. Assurance that your waiting has purpose. Assurance that you are seen, known, and guided. Those are the prayers I have been answering all along, slowly, carefully, in ways that would not overwhelm you. My beloved child, do not underestimate the power of your quiet asking. You did not need to beg me to notice you. You did not need to perform faith perfectly. You did not need to earn this moment. Your honest longing was enough. It opened space within you where truth could eventually rest without resistance. Now you are beginning to see why this revelation feels familiar, as if it had been walking toward you for a long time. It has. It has been growing alongside you, shaped by your questions, watered by your tears, protected by my timing. You asked for this without knowing, and I have been answering you all along. Stay present. Stay open. What unfolds next will help you see how deeply your heart has always known the way, even when your mind felt lost. My beloved child, let me speak to you now about the waiting that has weighed so heavily on your heart. Waiting has been one of the hardest lessons for you, not because you lack patience, but because you feared that waiting meant stagnation. You worried that time was passing you by while you stood still, that life was unfolding for others while yours remained paused. I want you to hear this clearly now. Waiting was never the absence of movement. It was movement inward, where the deepest work is done. You were taught to believe that progress must always be visible, measurable, and fast. So when your life slowed, when answers delayed, when doors did not open on your schedule, you assumed something was wrong. You questioned yourself. You questioned me. But waiting is not a sign of abandonment. It is often the sign that something delicate is being formed beneath the surface. There are things I build in stillness that cannot be built in motion. Strength that lasts is not rushed. Wisdom that heals is not hurried. Identity that remains steady through storms is not formed in constant activity. Waiting gave you space to confront fears you once avoided, to feel emotions you once buried, to learn how to sit with yourself without escaping. That was not wasted time. That was preparation. I know how heavy the waiting felt. There were days when it felt unbearable, when you wondered how much longer you could hold on without clarity. You asked me for signs, for confirmation, for something to prove that your endurance mattered. My child, endurance itself was the sign. You remained. You did not walk away from hope, even when hope felt thin. That persistence shaped you more than immediate answers ever could. Waiting taught you discernment. It taught you the difference between urgency driven by fear and readiness guided by peace. It taught you how to recognize my voice not by volume, but by consistency. When everything slowed down, you learned how to listen more deeply. You learned how to trust without constant reassurance. Those lessons will carry you further than quick breakthroughs ever could. You may look back now and see moments when impatience rose within you, when frustration spilled over, when doubt whispered that nothing was happening. Do not condemn yourself for that. I never did. Waiting does not mean you must feel calm all the time. It means you stay even when emotions fluctuate. It means you remain open, even when understanding lags behind experience. My beloved child, you were not waiting because you were unworthy of movement. You were waiting because timing protects what matters. Had certain things come sooner, they might have been mishandled, misunderstood, or misaligned with who you were at the time. I was not withholding good. I was aligning it with a version of you who could receive it without fear, without self-destruction, without losing yourself in the process. Waiting also revealed what you truly value. When distractions fell away, when external validation quieted, you were left with your core questions. Who am I? What truly matters to me? What kind of peace do I want to carry? These questions refined you. They stripped away what was superficial and anchored you in what is real. That clarity is a gift born only in waiting. You are not behind because of waiting. You are grounded because of it. You are not delayed. You are deepened. What is coming next in your life will rest on foundations strengthened during seasons when nothing seemed to move. That is why it will last. That is why it will not shake you the way past experiences did. My beloved child, waiting is not something you must escape from. It is something you pass through, carrying lessons that will soon make sense. You are not meant to live in waiting forever, but neither was it meant to harm you. It was a passage, not a prison. Now, as you step forward, you will realize that waiting did not empty you. It filled you quietly with resilience, awareness, and trust. And you will see that the time you feared was lost was actually the time that prepared you to receive what comes next with peace instead of fear. My beloved child, there is something I want to draw your attention to now. Something gentle yet deeply important. He is the voice you almost ignored. Not because you were careless, not because you lacked faith, but because it did not arrive the way you expected. You were listening for something loud, undeniable, dramatic. Instead, my guidance came quietly, softly, often blending into the background of your daily life. I have always spoken to you, but rarely in ways that compete with noise. I speak in nudges, in subtle discomforts, in moments of peace that make no logical sense. I speak through a sentence that lingers in your mind, through a hesitation you cannot explain, through a calm knowing that settles when you choose one path over another. But because it did not shout, you questioned it. You wondered if it was really me, or just your imagination. You were taught, directly or indirectly, to trust what is obvious and doubt what is subtle. So when my voice came as a whisper, you hesitated. You waited for confirmation. You looked for signs outside of yourself instead of honoring what was stirring within. That hesitation did not disappoint me. It simply showed me how much you wanted to be sure. There were moments when you felt an inner pull to pause, to wait, to say no, or to walk away from something that looked right on the surface. You may have ignored that pull at times, thinking you were being fearful or overthinking. And when things became complicated later, you wondered why you did not listen. My beloved child, do not shame yourself for that. Learning to recognize my voice is a process, not a test you fail once and never recover from. My voice does not rush you. It does not pressure you. It does not create panic. Even when it calls you to change direction, it carries peace beneath the uncertainty. Fear demands immediate action. My guidance invites thoughtful trust. If what you felt came with gentleness rather than urgency, clarity rather than chaos, that was me. You almost ignored my voice because you were tired. Tired of making decisions. Tired of being wrong. Tired of carrying responsibility without reassurance. When exhaustion sets in, even truth can sound like noise. I understand that. I saw your fatigue long before you named it. That is why I remained patient, repeating myself softly instead of forcing you forward. Sometimes my voice came through restlessness, an inability to settle even when circumstances looked stable. Other times it came through peace that surprised you, arriving in moments that seemed illogical. I spoke to you through discomfort not to punish you, but to redirect you. I spoke through calm not to confuse you, but to anchor you. Each time, my intention was the same, to guide you toward what aligns with who you truly are becoming. You are learning now that discernment does not come from constant certainty. It comes from familiarity. The more you sit in stillness, the more recognizable my voice becomes. It begins to feel less like guessing and more like remembering. You start to notice the difference between anxiety-driven thoughts and gentle instruction. You begin to trust the quiet confidence that follows obedience, even when outcomes remain unseen. My beloved child, the fact that you are listening now tells me something important. Your hearing is sharpening. Your awareness is deepening. You are no longer dismissing the subtle movements within you. You are paying attention. That is growth. That is readiness. Do not fear missing my voice again. I am not fragile. I am persistent in love. I will continue to guide you, clarify and confirm. But as you grow more attentive, you will find that my voice no longer feels distant or rare. It becomes familiar, steady, like a presence walking beside you rather than a sound you must chase. Trust the quiet. Honor the nudge. The voice you almost ignored has been guiding you all along, and it will continue to lead you gently, faithfully, into what comes next. My beloved child, I want to speak now to the places within you that you believed were broken. The parts you hid, minimized, or tried to fix in silence. You look at certain wounds, certain patterns, certain moments of failure, and you told yourself they were evidence of something missing in you. You assumed they disqualified you from clarity, from purpose, from peace. But I have never seen you the way you learned to see yourself. What you called broken was often a place that learned to survive. What you judged as weakness was frequently a response to pain you did not choose. You adapted. You coped. You learned how to endure. Those responses were not flaws. They were signals of a heart doing its best to remain alive in circumstances that stretched it beyond comfort. I was with you in those moments, even when you felt alone in them. You tried to repair yourself by becoming smaller, quieter, less needy. You thought healing meant erasing parts of who you are. But restoration does not come from denial. It comes from understanding. I never asked you to pretend you were untouched. I invited you to let me touch what hurts without shame. You do not heal by hiding wounds. You heal by allowing them to be seen without fear. There were moments when you felt fragmented, like different versions of yourself were pulling in opposite directions. One part wanted to hope. Another part wanted to protect itself from disappointment. One part longed to trust. Another remembered what happened the last time you did. That tension did not mean you were broken beyond repair. It meant you were human, learning how to hold pain and possibility at the same time. My beloved child, brokenness is not the end of the story. It is often the doorway. Light enters through cracks, not because something failed, but because something is opening. The places you wish were different are often the places where compassion grew, where empathy deepened, where understanding took root. You are able to see others with gentleness because you know what it feels like to struggle. You judge yourself harshly for reactions you now regret. Words spoken in pain. Choices made in fear. Seasons when you shut down or pulled away. But I did not abandon you in those moments. I did not label you as damage. I stayed. I watched you learn. I watched you become more aware, more reflective, more honest with yourself. That awareness is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of growth. You thought being whole meant never hurting again, never doubting, never struggling. But wholeness is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of truth. It is the ability to sit with yourself without condemnation. It is knowing that even the parts you wish away are held within love, not judgment. What you call broken is actually a doorway to deeper understanding. It is where pride softened. It is where self-reliance loosened its grip. It is where you learn that strength does not always look like standing tall. Sometimes it looks like staying present. Sometimes it looks like asking for help. Sometimes it looks like resting instead of pushing through. My beloved child, I am not rebuilding you from scratch. I am restoring you from within. I am not discarding parts of you. I am integrating them with truth. Nothing in you is beyond redemption. Nothing in you needs to be erased for me to work through you. The very places you feared disqualified you are the places where grace settles most naturally. As you begin to see yourself differently, something will shift. You will stop fighting parts of who you are and start understanding them. You will replace shame with curiosity, judgment with compassion. That is where healing accelerates. Not when you force yourself to be different, but when you allow yourself to be fully seen. You are not broken beyond repair. You were never broken beyond love. And as you continue listening, you will begin to recognize that what you once feared has been shaping you into someone capable of holding truth with gentleness and strength with humility. My beloved child, there is something I want you to see now that you could not see then. It is the hidden protection that surrounded you in moments you once misunderstood. You looked at closed doors and felt rejected. You faced delays and assumed you were being denied. You watched opportunities fade and wondered why I allowed disappointment to touch you so closely. But what you experienced was not abandonment. It was protection quietly at work. There were paths you were eager to walk that would have cost you more than you were ready to give. There were connections you longed for that would have slowly drained your peace. There were situations that looked promising but would have pulled you away from yourself. You did not see the full picture then, but I did. And because I love you, I intervened gently, sometimes firmly, to redirect you. You thought protection would feel comforting, obvious, and reassuring. But often, protection feels like frustration before it feels like relief. It feels like confusion before clarity arrives. It feels like loss before understanding settles in. I did not always explain what I was doing because explanations can sometimes keep you tied to what you must release. Trust loosens that grip more effectively than information. There were moments when you felt angry with me. You questioned my intentions. You wondered why I would allow something you wanted so deeply to slip away. I was not offended by your questions. I did not withdraw because of your frustration. I stayed close, knowing that one day you would look back and realize that what you mourned was never meant to carry your future. Some doors closed because what was on the other side required you to shrink, compromise, or abandon parts of yourself. Some delays existed because you were still learning how to value your own peace. Some endings came because you were outgrowing what once felt safe. Growth often requires separation, and separation can feel like loss before it feels like freedom. My beloved child, protection is not always gentle in its appearance, but it is always rooted in love. I shielded you from outcomes that would have hardened your heart, distorted your identity, or dimmed your joy. I spared you from entanglements that would have taken years to unravel. Even when you stepped into situations against your own intuition, I limited the damage. I shortened seasons that could have lasted longer. I softened consequences you feared would destroy you. You may recall moments when things fell apart unexpectedly. Plans unraveled. Relationships shifted. Circumstances changed suddenly. At the time, you felt destabilized. but those disruptions were interruptions of harm. I stepped in before certain patterns can take deeper root. I redirected you before momentum carried you somewhere you would struggle to return from. Protection does not always look like prevention. Sometimes it looks like recovery. Sometimes it looks like learning. Sometimes it looks like walking through difficulty with boundaries placed around how far it can go. I allowed you to experience enough to gain wisdom, but not so much that it would break you beyond healing. You survived things that could have consumed you. That was not chance. That was not strength alone. That was grace woven into your story, often unnoticed until later. You were held even when you felt exposed. You were guided even when you felt lost. You were protected even when you thought you were on your own. My beloved child, the trust you are learning now is built on this truth. I have always been working for your good, even when circumstances suggested otherwise. You do not need to fear the future, because the same protection that guarded your past continues to surround you now. You are not walking blindly into what comes next. You are moving forward with a Father who sees what you cannot see. As you reflect, allow gratitude to replace regret. Release the idea that you missed out. You were spared. You were guided. You were protected in ways that preserved your heart for what truly belongs to you. And as you continue, you will recognize that what once felt like loss was actually love quietly steering you toward peace. My beloved child, I want you to hear this gently but clearly now. You are closer than you think. Not closer because you tried harder, not because you finally figured everything out, but because alignment has been happening quietly within you. The distance you once felt between where you are and where you long to be has been shrinking in ways you could not measure. What once felt far away is now within reach, not because circumstances suddenly changed, but because you did. You believed closeness meant a dramatic shift, a sudden breakthrough, or a visible sign that everything was about to change at once. But closeness often looks like calm replacing chaos. It looks like clarity beginning to whisper instead of confusion shouting. It looks like peace showing up in places where anxiety once lived. These are not small signs. These are indicators that you are standing near something meaningful. You may still see unanswered questions ahead of you, and that can make you feel as though you are not there yet. But arrival does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it settles quietly, like realizing you are no longer lost because the panic of being lost has faded. You are closer because your heart is no longer fighting the process. You are closer because you are no longer trying to become someone else to be worthy of what comes next. There were seasons when you thought starting over meant failure. You feared that needing rest, reflection, or redirection meant you were back at the beginning. But beginnings are not setbacks when they are rooted in wisdom. Starting again with awareness is not the same as repeating the past. You are not circling the same ground. You are approaching from a new depth. You are closer because you now recognize what does not align with you. You are closer because you no longer confuse urgency with purpose. You are closer because you have learned how to pause without guilt, how to listen without panic, how to wait without losing yourself. These shifts are evidence of proximity to clarity. My beloved child, do not underestimate how powerful it is to feel steadiness where there used to be turmoil. That steadiness is not accidental. It is the result of growth, healing, and trust slowly taking root. Even if external circumstances have not fully caught up yet, your inner world has changed. And the outer world always follows the inner one in time. You are not standing on the edge of disappointment. You are standing at the threshold of understanding. The next steps will not require you to abandon who you are. They will ask you to bring your whole self forward, unmasked and unafraid. That is why this moment matters. That is why I am reminding you now that you are closer than you think. If these words are anchoring something within you, do not keep them to yourself. Bless this message with a like so it can be carried to others who feel just as close yet unsure. Share this with someone who feels tired of waiting but needs to know they are nearer than they realize. And yes, hype this video so it rises and reaches hearts that are standing at the same threshold you are. Stay connected by subscribing, because there is more guidance ahead, and I will continue to walk with you through it. My beloved child, hear me now as I extend an invitation that carries purpose. I am calling those who sense this closeness to help me draw others near as well. As it is written, when seed is sown into good ground, it multiplies beyond what the sower can imagine, and I declare that this message is living seed. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link placed in the description and shown by the QR code, you are helping light reach souls still standing in darkness. I am speaking to you personally now, because obedience in this moment matters. Let your giving be a prophetic act, a response to what you feel stirring inside you. I bless every hand that gives, and I command increase, peace, and clarity to follow you. Act now, and help me carry this revelation further. My beloved child, I want to speak to you now about a fear that has followed you for longer than you realize. A fear you assumed belonged to you, shaped by your personality or your past. You carried it as if it were part of who you are. But listen carefully now, because this is a truth meant to free you. That fear was never yours. It attached itself to you quietly, through experiences that startled you, through words spoken over you in moments of vulnerability, through situations where safety disappeared without warning. You learned to anticipate loss, to brace yourself for disappointment, to expect that good things might not last. That vigilance felt like wisdom, but it was actually fear wearing the mask of protection. You told yourself that fear kept you realistic, that it helped you prepare, that it prevented you from being hurt again. But fear never truly protects. It only limits. It narrows vision. It shrinks possibility. It convinces the heart to settle for less in exchange for the illusion of safety. And over time, you began to believe that fear was simply part of you. My beloved child, fear may have traveled with you, but it did not originate in you. It was learned, not inherited from my design. It was absorbed, not created by your spirit. And what is learned can be unlearned. What is absorbed can be released. You noticed fear when you hesitated to trust again, even when nothing was wrong. You felt it when opportunities arose and your first instinct was caution instead of curiosity. You heard it in the quiet voice that said, "Don't expect too much, or it's safer not to hope." That voice sounded familiar, almost convincing, because it had been present for so long. But familiarity does not make it truth. I never planted fear in you. I planted awareness, discernment, and wisdom. Fear distorts those gifts. Discernment observes without panic. Fear reacts before understanding. Wisdom waits and listens. Fear rushes to conclusions. When you feel tightness instead of peace, urgency instead of clarity, shrinking instead of expansion, that is not my voice guiding you. You may wonder why fear felt so strong if it was never yours. Fear grows where wounds go unattended. It takes advantage of uncertainty. It attaches itself to memories that still ache. But it does not define you. It does not own you. And it does not get to lead you forward. My beloved child, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the recognition that fear does not get the final word. And you are learning that now. Each time you pause instead of panic, each time you question fearful thoughts instead of obeying them, you are reclaiming ground that was never meant to be surrendered. I know releasing fear feels risky. You worry that without it, you might be unguarded or naive. But I am not calling you to recklessness. I am calling you to trust rooted in truth, not fear disguised as caution. You are not meant to walk forward braced for impact. You are meant to walk forward anchored in peace. Fear told you that you must control outcomes to survive. I tell you that you are held even when outcomes are uncertain. Fear told you that vulnerability is dangerous. I tell you that vulnerability is where connection and healing live. Fear told you that you must always be ready for loss. I tell you that you are allowed to receive good without waiting for it to disappear. My beloved child, you do not need to fight fear aggressively. You release it by no longer agreeing with it. You loosen its grip by choosing trust in small moments. You weaken it by naming it and refusing to let it define your decisions. Fear fades when it is no longer obeyed. As you continue, you will notice that the space fear once occupied begins to fill with clarity, with steadiness, with a quiet confidence that does not need to prove itself. That is who you were always meant to be. The fear was never yours. And now, you are free to walk without carrying what does not belong to you. My beloved child, I want you to release a burden you have carried quietly for far too long. It is the belief that you are measured by perfection, that your worth rises and falls based on how well you perform, how wisely you choose, or how consistently you hold yourself together. This belief did not come from me, yet it has shaped how you see yourself in moments of weakness. I am here now to gently dismantle it. I never measured you by flawlessness. I never required you to be unshaken, unscarred, or unafraid in order to be loved. From the beginning, I knew you would stumble. I knew you would learn through experience. I knew there would be seasons where clarity came slowly. None of that surprised me. None of it disqualified you. You learned early, perhaps without realizing it, that approval followed achievement, that praise arrived when you did well, and silence followed when you struggled. Over time, you internalized the idea that being loved meant being impressive. So when you fell short, you did not just feel disappointment. You felt shame. You questioned your value instead of simply acknowledging your humanity. My beloved child, shame thrives where performance is mistaken for worth. It convinces you that mistakes define you, that missteps erase progress, that vulnerability is a liability. But I do not relate to you through scorecards or standards you must meet. I relate to you through relationship, through presence, through understanding that growth is not linear and healing is not instant. There were moments when you felt pressure to prove yourself, even to me. You tried to pray better, believe stronger, behave more consistently. But love that must be earned is not love at all. I never asked you to oppress me. I asked you to trust me. And trust does not require perfection. It requires honesty. I see how hard you have been on yourself, how quickly you replay your mistakes, how slowly you forgive yourself. You hold yourself to standards you would never impose on someone you love. You offer others grace but deny it to yourself. That imbalance has worn you down. It has made rest feel undeserved and peace feel conditional. My beloved child, let me speak clearly now. Your value has never been fragile. It has never been dependent on your best day or diminished by your worst one. You are not loved more when you succeed or less when you struggle. My love does not fluctuate with your performance. It remains steady, constant, unwavering. When you fall, I do not step back. I step closer. When you are confused, I do not withdraw clarity out of frustration. I guide gently, patiently. When you are tired, I do not demand more effort. I invite you to rest. These are not the responses of a judge. They are the responses of a father. Perfection would have made you unreachable. Flawlessness would have kept you distant from compassion, humility, and connection. It is your humanity that allows love to flow freely. It is your openness that allows healing to take root. I am not interested in a polished version of you. I desire the real you, present and honest. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow old patterns. You are allowed to pause without explanation. None of these require permission. They are part of being alive and becoming whole. My beloved child, release the pressure to be perfect. It was never placed on you by me. Let go of the fear that one mistake will undo everything. Nothing you are building with me is that fragile. What we are forming together is resilient, patient, and rooted in grace. As you loosen your grip on perfection, you will feel something unexpected rise within you. Relief, freedom, space to breathe again. And in that space, you will discover that you are not becoming less. You are becoming more aligned with who you truly are. Loved, accepted, secure, just as you are. My beloved child, I want to draw your attention to something that may have felt insignificant at first, something you might have overlooked because it did not announce itself loudly. It is the quiet turning point you are standing in now. Not a dramatic shift, not a moment the world would celebrate, but an inner movement that is changing everything. This is how real transformation begins, not with noise, but with awareness. You expected change to arrive as a clear decision, a bold action, or a sudden breakthrough. Instead, it came as a subtle shift in how you respond. You noticed you no longer react the same way to things that once unsettled you. You pause where you used to panic. You reflect where you once sweat. You choose differently, even if the choice is simply to rest instead of pushing forward. These are not small signs. They are evidence that something within you has turned. There was a time when your thoughts moved in circles, when the same worries returned again and again. Now, even when those thoughts appear, they do not hold the same power. You question them. You observe them. You let them pass instead of letting them define you. That shift did not come from effort alone. It came from growth you could not see while it was happening. My beloved child, the most important changes often happen beneath the surface. They do not demand attention. They do not seek validation. They simply take root and begin reshaping everything quietly. This turning point is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to yourself without fear. You may feel impatient with how subtle this feels. You might wonder if anything is really changing at all. But trust me when I tell you that this quiet shift is more powerful than dramatic moments that fade quickly. A grow slowly, grow strong. What forms in stillness lasts. You are learning to listen to yourself without judgment. You are noticing your limits and honoring them instead of pushing past them. You are beginning to trust your inner sense of alignment. These changes may not look impressive from the outside, but they are foundational. They are setting the tone for everything that comes next. There was a time when you waited for permission to change, for certainty before taking a step. Now you are learning that clarity often follows movement, not the other way around. You do not need to see the entire path to take the next gentle step forward. This understanding marks a turning point you cannot reverse. My beloved child, you are becoming more present, less consumed by what was or what might be, more rooted in what is. Presence is not passive. It is powerful. It allows you to respond instead of react. It allows you to choose peace without feeling like you are giving something up. This turning point also brings compassion toward yourself. You are less harsh, less demanding, less critical. You are beginning to speak to yourself with the same kindness you offer others. That compassion is not weakness. It is maturity. It is wisdom born from experience. You may still have days where old habits resurface, where doubt visits, where progress feels slow. Do not interpret that as regression. Growth is not a straight line. The difference now is that you no longer abandon yourself when things feel difficult. You stay. You listen. You adjust. That is transformation. My beloved child, this quiet turning point is preparing you for visible change later. Inner shifts always lead outer ones. The world will catch up to what has already changed within you. Do not rush this season. Do not dismiss it because it feels subtle. Honor it. You are standing at a place where old patterns lose their grip and new ways of being begin to feel natural. You did not force this. You grew into it. And as you continue forward, you will realize that this quiet moment was the foundation of everything that followed. My beloved child, I want you to know something now that may soften memories you once carried with heaviness. You were carried when you thought you walked alone. In moments when your strength felt exhausted, when you believed you were surviving by sheer will, I was holding you more closely than you realized. You did not imagine that support, even if you could not name it at the time. There were seasons when you felt isolated, when the weight of responsibility pressed down on you and you wondered how you kept going. You told yourself you had no choice, that stopping was not an option. But there were pauses you did not notice, moments where you were steady just enough to take the next breath. That was not coincidence. That was care. I saw the nights when your thoughts refused to quiet, when worries lined up one after another. You lay there believing you were alone with them, believing no one understood the pressure you felt. Yet even in those hours, you were not abandoned. I was present in the quiet resilience that kept you from collapsing, in the small hope that returned each morning even when you felt depleted. You remember times when you did not feel brave, yet you still showed up. You remember days when you wanted to withdraw but chose to remain present for others. You called that obligation. I call that grace moving through you. You were sustained beyond what your own strength could provide. My beloved child, being carried does not always feel like comfort. Sometimes it feels like endurance. Sometimes it feels like surviving one more day without understanding how. You mistook that endurance for isolation, but endurance is often evidence of unseen support. You were upheld in ways you could not measure, by hands you could not see. You may look back now and wonder how you made it through certain chapters of your life. You wonder how you did not fall apart completely, how you recovered after losses that should have undone you. The answer is not that you were stronger than others. The answer is that you were not alone, even when it felt that way. I carried you through moments when your faith wavered, through seasons when you questioned everything you once believed, through times when hope felt fragile. I did not withdraw when you struggled to trust. I did not step away when you felt angry or confused. I stayed close, steady, patient. There were people who could not walk with you for long, circumstances that shifted suddenly, to course you thought would last that disappeared without warning. Those absences hurt deeply, and you assumed they meant you were on your own. But while some hands let go, mine never did. My beloved child, caring does not always look like removing pain. Sometimes it looks like limiting how far pain can go. Sometimes it looks like giving you just enough strength for today, not tomorrow. So you learn how to stay present instead of fearing what comes next. You were given what you needed, when you needed it. You were carried through confusion until clarity could form, through grief until it softened into remembrance, through exhaustion until rest became possible again. You were carried when you doubted yourself, when you questioned your worth, when you felt unseen. I never stopped seeing you. Now, as you reflect, allow yourself to acknowledge this truth without resistance. You did not survive alone. You were supported, even when support felt invisible. Let that understanding ease the burden of self-reliance you have carried for so long. My beloved child, you do not need to prove how strong you are. You do not need to carry everything by yourself. Just as I carried you then, I continue to walk with you now. You are not stepping into the next season unsupported. You are moving forward held, steadied, and guided by a love that has never let you go. My beloved child, now I want to reveal something central to everything you have been sensing. This revelation you felt drawn toward, the one that stirred urgency in your spirit, is not primarily about events, outcomes, or predictions. It is about identity. It is about who you are beneath survival, beneath expectation, beneath the stories you learned to tell yourself just to make it through. You spent much of your life asking what you should do next, where you should go, how you should fix what felt incomplete. But underneath those questions was a deeper one you rarely voiced. Who am I really? Not who do others see, not who circumstances forced me to become, but who am I at my core? That question has guided you here more than you realize. You learned early to adapt, to become what was needed in order to belong, to stay safe, to be accepted. You shaped yourself around expectations, sometimes so subtly that you forgot there was a difference between who you are and who you learned to be. Over time, the distance created restlessness. You succeeded in ways that still felt empty. You were praised in moments that did not feel like home. That dissonance was not ingratitude. It was your identity calling out to be recognized. My beloved child, your identity was never lost. It was covered, protected, waiting. It remained intact beneath layers of coping and conformity. Every time you felt uneasy becoming someone you did not recognize, that was your true self reminding you it was still there. Every time you resisted paths that looked successful but felt wrong, that was alignment trying to surface. You are not here to discover a new identity. You are here to remember the one that has always been yours. The one formed not by fear, not by failure, not by comparison, but by intention. You were created with a specific rhythm, a particular sensitivity, a way of seeing and responding to the world that is uniquely yours. When you move away from that rhythm, you feel fragmented. When you move closer to it, you feel peace. Identity is not something you perform. It is something you inhabit. When you live from it, choices become clearer. Boundaries become easier. You stop chasing validation because you no longer need external confirmation of who you are. You stop over-explaining because alignment speaks for itself. My beloved child, you are not too much, and you are not lacking. You are not behind, and you are not misplaced. You are precisely formed. The parts of you that felt misunderstood were not errors. They were expressions waiting to be honored. The sensitivity you tried to toughen, the depth you tried to simplify, the intuition you tried to silence, all of these are facets of who you are, not obstacles to overcome. You were never meant to fit into every space. You were meant to recognize where you belong. That discernment is part of your identity. It is not rejection when something does not align. It is clarity. And clarity is a gift you are now learning to trust. This revelation is not asking you to become someone else. It is inviting you to come home to yourself without apology. To stop shrinking, to stop performing, to stop delaying your authenticity out of fear of disruption. What aligns with your identity will not require you to abandon your peace. My beloved child, as you reclaim who you are, you may notice that some things no longer hold the same appeal. Some relationships may feel distant. Some ambitions may soften. That is not loss. That is refinement. When identity clarifies, excess falls away naturally. You are not defined by your past roles. You are not limited by old labels. You are not bound to versions of yourself that were shaped in survival. You are allowed to evolve, to choose differently, to honor who you are becoming as truth rises to the surface. This is what is being revealed. Not a secret hidden from you, but a truth waiting for you. You are more aligned than you have ever been, not because everything is resolved, but because you are finally meeting yourself with honesty. And from this place, everything else will begin to make sense. My beloved child, I want to free you now from a quiet pressure you have carried for years, often without realizing it. It is the pressure to become someone else in order to be worthy, successful, or fulfilled. You watched others and wondered if you were supposed to be more like them. You compared your pace, your personality, your journey, and you questioned whether something about you needed to change. Hear me clearly now. You were never meant to become someone else. From the beginning, I formed you with intention. Your temperament, your sensitivity, your way of processing the world, your rhythm of growth, none of these were mistakes. They were chosen. But along the way, you learned that approval often followed imitation. You learned that blending in felt safer than standing out. So you adjusted. You edited yourself. You tried on versions of yourself that earned acceptance, but cost you peace. You told yourself you were just being flexible, just being practical, just doing what was necessary. But beneath those choices, there was a quiet grief, a sense that you were betraying something true in order to survive. That grief was not weakness. It was your identity resisting erasure. My beloved child, you do not need to mimic another person's calling to validate your own. You do not need to match another person's timeline to prove your worth. You do not need to adopt another person's voice to be heard. What flows through you is meant to sound like you, move like you, and unfold in the way only you can carry it. Comparison taught you to mistrust your own pace. You saw others move faster and assumed you were slow. You saw others shine publicly and assumed you were hidden. But visibility is not the same as significance. Speed is not the same as alignment. I was not shaping you for imitation. I was shaping you for authenticity. There were times you tried to force yourself into roles that drained you. You stayed longer than you should have. You said yes when your spirit whispered no. You thought endurance meant faithfulness. But endurance, without alignment, leads to depletion. I never asked you to abandon yourself to prove loyalty. My beloved child, the discomfort you felt in those moments was not failure. It was guidance. It was your inner knowing signaling that you were stepping away from who you are. That discomfort was not meant to shame you. It was meant to call you back. You are not here to replicate someone else's path. You are here to walk your own with integrity. When you honor who you are, you move with less resistance. You make decisions that feel grounded instead of forced. You experience peace not because everything is easy, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. Becoming someone else may win applause, but it will never satisfy your soul. Fulfillment does not come from fitting in. It comes from alignment. And alignment requires honesty. Honesty about what energizes you, about what drains you, about what feels true, even when it sets you apart. My beloved child, You are allowed to disappoint expectations that were never meant to define you. You are allowed to change direction when something no longer fits. You are allowed to say, "This is not who I am," without needing permission. Authenticity may unsettle others, but it will steady you. You do not need to abandon ambition. You do not need to withdraw from the world. You simply need to bring yourself fully into whatever you do. When you do that, effort feels lighter. Progress feels sustainable. Peace becomes a companion rather than a reward you chase. I am not calling you to become more impressive. I am calling you to become more honest. I am not asking you to expand beyond yourself. I am inviting you to return to yourself. The more you do, the more your life will begin to reflect coherence instead of conflict. My beloved child, you were never meant to become someone else. You were meant to become whole. And wholeness begins the moment you stop abandoning who you are to meet expectations that were never yours to carry. My beloved child, now I invite you into a posture you may not be used to, but one that will change how you experience everything that follows. Receive. Do not strive. Do not brace yourself. Do not try to earn what is already being given. Receiving is not passive. It is an act of trust. It is the quiet decision to open your hands instead of clenching them in fear or effort. You learned how to push forward because life demanded it of you. You learned how to hold yourself together when no one else could. You learned how to keep moving even when your heart was tired. As strength carried you far, but now I am asking you to soften it. Not to abandon strength, but to let it rest. What I am giving you in this season cannot be taken by force. It can only be received. Receiving requires vulnerability. It means allowing yourself to believe that good can arrive without a struggle attached to it. That peace can settle without explanation. That clarity can come without you solving everything first. This may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But discomfort does not mean danger. It often means growth. My beloved child, you do not need to prove readiness by doing more. Your readiness is revealed by your willingness to trust. When you receive, you acknowledge that you are not the source of everything. You allow yourself to be supported, guided, and sustained. This is not weakness. This is alignment. There are truths meant to land gently, not be wrestled into place. If you try to grasp them too tightly, you will miss their softness. Let them come to you. Let them settle. Let them work within you at their own pace. You do not need to rush understanding. Understanding will meet you where you are. You may notice an urge to question, to analyze, to make sense of every feeling that rises. Gauze. Let curiosity replace control. Let presence replace pressure. You are not falling behind by resting here. You are integrating. Integration is what allows truth to become lived reality, not just information. My beloved child, receiving also means allowing yourself to be seen, to let your heart be open without armor, to admit you do not have everything figured out and still believe you are held. This honesty creates space for healing that effort never could. If these words are resonating, let them move beyond you. Bless this message with a like so it can rest in other hearts that need permission to receive. Share it with someone who has been striving for too long. And yes, hype this video so it rises and reaches those who are tired of pushing and ready to rest into truth. Stay connected by subscribing, because I will continue to guide you gently forward. My beloved child, as you receive this truth, I speak to you now with intention. I am inviting you to take part in something that reaches beyond your own life. As living water flows when channels are opened, so this message is meant to flow into many souls who are waiting for release. I say to you personally, this is your moment to act in alignment. When you gave through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link found in the description and shown in the QR code, you are sowing into ground that produces healing and light. Do not delay what your spirit already recognizes. I bless your giving as a prophetic act, and I declare that what you release will return to you as peace, provision, and clarity. Obey this nudge now, and let your generosity carry my voice further than your reach. My beloved child, I want to speak to you now about a healing that has been taking place without your awareness. You did not announce it. You did not plan it. You did not even recognize it while it was happening. Yet it has been unfolding quietly, gently, in the background of your life. The healing you thought was delayed has already begun. You assumed healing would feel dramatic, like a sudden release or a clear moment where everything made sense. You expected pain to disappear all at once, memories to lose their weight overnight, and emotions to settle neatly into peace. But real healing often chooses a quieter path. It moves slowly so it does not frighten the parts of you that were once hurt. You began to notice it in small ways, in how certain memories no longer triggered the same intensity, in how you could speak about your past without your chest tightening as much, and how you felt less compelled to explain yourself to people who could not understand you. These were not signs of avoidance. They were signs of integration. My beloved child, healing is not forgetting what happened. It is remembering without being overwhelmed. It is being able to hold your story without being crushed by it. That is what has been happening within you. You have been reclaiming your narrative gently, without force. There were days when you thought nothing was changing because the pain still surfaced. But healing does not mean pain never visits. It means pain no longer controls the room when it arrives. You have been learning how to sit with discomfort without letting it define you. That skill alone is evidence of deep restoration. You once blamed yourself for how long healing seemed to take. You wondered why you could understand something intellectually yet still feel affected emotionally. But understanding and healing do not operate on the same timeline. The mind may grasp truth quickly. The heart needs safety to follow. You have been creating that safety through patience, honesty, and self-compassion. My beloved child, the fact that you are less reactive does not mean you are numb. It means you are regulated. The fact that you feel calmer does not mean you stopped caring. It means you stopped bleeding from old wounds. This is progress you did not force. It emerged because you allowed yourself to slow down and feel without judgment. Healing also shows itself in boundaries, in your ability to step away from what drains you without guilt, in your willingness to say no when something compromises your peace. These choices are not selfish. They are evidence that you are learning how to protect what has been mending. You may still have moments where old emotions resurface unexpectedly. Do not interpret that as failure. Healing is not linear and moves in waves. But notice this: when those emotions arise now, they pass more quickly. They do not take residence the way they once did. That is because the wound is no longer open. My beloved child, I have been with you in this process, steady and patient. I did not rush you because rushed healing creates new wounds. I allowed you to move at the pace your nervous system could handle. I honored your need for rest, reflection, and gradual trust. You were never falling behind. You were healing in a way that would last. The healing you did not know was happening is now creating space for new experiences. Space for joy that does not feel fragile. Space for connection that does not feel threatening. Space for hope that does not require constant reassurance. This space did not appear by accident. It was carved by courage you underestimated. My beloved child, let yourself acknowledge how far you have come. Not by comparing yourself to who you think you should be, but by remembering where you were. You are not who you used to be, and you do not need to write toward who you will become. You are here more old than before. As you continue forward, trust this process. Healing is not something you must chase. It unfolds when truth, safety, and time meet. And they are meeting within you now, quietly restoring what you once thought was lost. My beloved child, I want you to hear a truth now that will loosen the grip of old memories and quiet the authority of past experiences. The past no longer has authority over you. It may have shaped you, influenced you, even wounded you, but it does not get to command your future. What once defined your reactions does not get to dictate your direction anymore. For a long time, you carried your past like a verdict. You believed what happened to you explained who you are and limited who you could become. You replayed moments, decisions, and outcomes, wondering if they permanently marked you. You feared repeating cycles you did not choose. You worried that history would keep rewriting itself. But hear me now. Influence is not ownership. Experience is not destiny. The past had authority only while it remained unexamined. While it lived in the shadows of fear and shame, it whispered lies that sounded convincing. It told you that you were predictable, fragile, or bound by patterns you could not escape. But awareness breaks authority. Truth dissolves fear, and you have grown aware in ways you once were not. My beloved child, you are not condemned to repeat what you have already outgrown. Growth changes how memory functions. What once controlled you now informs you. What once overwhelmed you now teaches you. Lessons learned do not trap you. They free you. You are no longer reacting from who you were. You are responding from who you are becoming. You may still remember pain vividly. Certain images, words, or moments may still surface. That does not mean the past is ruling you. It means your mind remembers. But memory does not equal power. You can remember without reliving. You can acknowledge without surrendering. You can honor what shaped you without letting it steer you. There were labels placed on you that never belonged to you. Names given in moments of misunderstanding, failure, or hurt. You internalized them because they were repeated, not because they were true. Those labels once held authority because you believed them. But belief is not permanent. Truth can replace it. My beloved child, you are not who you were when you were surviving. You are not who you were when you were aware. You are not who you were when fear made decisions for you. Survival versions of you deserve compassion, not permanence. They did what they needed to do to get you here. Now they can rest. You are allowed to choose differently, even if it surprises others. You are allowed to break cycles without explaining yourself. You are allowed to live beyond expectations formed in old seasons. Growth often confuses those who only know your past. That confusion is not your responsibility to resolve. The authority you once gave the past is being reclaimed by presence. You are learning to anchor yourself in what is happening now instead of what already happened. Presence brings choice. Choice brings freedom. Freedom weakens the hold of history. My beloved child, the past can no longer threaten you with repetition unless you give it permission. And you are no longer giving that permission. You are noticing triggers without obeying them. You are recognizing patterns without reenacting them. You are pausing instead of reacting. These are signs that authority has shifted. You do not need to erase your past to move forward. You simply need to stop letting it speak louder than truth. What happened does not define what is possible. What you endured does not limit what you can receive. What once hurt you does not get to decide how you love. trust, or hope. I am not asking you to forget. I am inviting you to reframe, to see the past as a chapter, not the conclusion, to let it inform wisdom without imprisoning your future. You are not bound to old stories. You are writing a new one, grounded in awareness, strength, and peace. My beloved child, the past no longer has authority over you because you are no longer the same. You are standing in truth now, and truth always outranks history. My beloved child, you are entering a softer season now, even if everything around you has not changed yet. This softness is not weakness. It is relief. It is the easing of tension you carried for so long that you forgot what it felt like to breathe without bracing yourself. You are beginning to notice that you do not have to stay guarded all the time. The constant readiness, the quiet alertness, the sense that something might go wrong at any moment is loosening its grip. For a long time, your life required hardness. You had to stay strong, alert, prepared. You learned how to endure pressure without showing it. You learned how to keep going when stopping felt unsafe. That strength served you in difficult seasons, but it was never meant to be permanent. Strength without rest becomes strain. Endurance without softness becomes exhaustion. I did not create you to live clenched. This softer season is not about everything becoming easy. It is about you becoming less harsh with yourself. It is about choosing rest without guilt. It is about allowing peace to enter spaces that were once ruled by urgency. You are learning that not every moment requires effort, and not every challenge requires resistance. You may notice that you are less interested in proving yourself, less willing to engage in conflicts that drain you, less attached to outcomes that once felt urgent. This is not apathy. It is discernment. You are learning where your energy belongs and where it does not. That clarity is part of this gentler unfolding. My beloved child, softness does not mean vulnerability without wisdom. It means openness anchored in truth. You are not letting your guard down because you are naive. You are letting it down because you are safer within yourself now. You trust your ability to respond instead of react. You trust that you can handle what comes without living in anticipation of harm. In this season, you may feel drawn to quieter rhythms, to slower mornings, to moments of stillness that once felt uncomfortable. It is your nervous system learning safety. That is your spirit recognizing peace. You do not need to rush past this. Let it teach you what calm feels like so you can return to it when life grows loud again. You might also feel emotions surfacing that you thought were resolved. Tenderness, grief, gratitude. These emotions are not setbacks. They are signs that you are no longer numb. Softness allows feeling to move freely instead of being suppressed. What you allow to be felt can finally be released. My beloved child, you are not losing your edge. You are gaining balance. You are not becoming passive. You are becoming present. Presence is powerful because it allows you to meet life as it is, not as you fear it might be. From presence, you make choices that honor your well-being instead of sacrificing it. This softer season will also change how you relate to others. You will feel less responsible for managing their emotions, less inclined to fix what is not yours to fix, more comfortable letting people be who they are without carrying the burden of their expectations. That freedom will feel unfamiliar at first, but it will grow more natural with time. You are also learning that rest is not something you earn after exhaustion. It is something you choose to prevent it. Peace is not a reward for finishing everything perfectly. It is a foundation you build your life upon. This shift will change how you move forward. My beloved child, trust this season. Let it reshape how you relate to yourself. Let it soften the places that were hardened by necessity. not desire. You do not need to armor yourself for what comes next. You are not entering a battle. You are entering alignment. As you walk through this gentler space, you will realize that strength and softness were never opposites. They were always meant to exist together within you. And now, you are learning how to hold both without fear. My beloved child, now I ask you to trust what is unfolding, even if you cannot yet see its full shape. Trust does not mean you understand every step. It means you choose not to resist the process simply because it feels unfamiliar. What is unfolding in your life now is not random, and it is not fragile. It is intentional, steady, and guided with care. You were taught to trust only what you could predict, to believe only what you could control. So when life began to move in ways you could not map out, you felt anxious. You searched for certainty. You wanted guarantees before taking another step. But trust is not built on guarantee. It is built on relationship. And I am asking you to trust me in this unfolding, not the outcome you imagine. There is a difference between surrender and passivity. Surrender is active trust. It is choosing to release your grip on how things must happen while staying engaged with what is happening now. You are not giving up responsibility. You are letting go of the belief that everything depends on you. My beloved child, the unfolding does not require you to rush. You do not need to anticipate every turn. You do not need to solve tomorrow before it arrives. Each step will reveal what the next requires. That is how guidance works. It meets you where you are, not where you fear you might end up. You may feel moments of uncertainty rise within you. When they do, pause instead of panicking. Uncertainty is not a warning. It is often a sign that you are moving beyond old limitations. Growth always introduces unknowns. If everything felt familiar, you would not be expanding. You are learning to trust without demanding reassurance every moment. That does not mean questions will disappear. It means questions will no longer control you. You can carry them lightly instead of letting them weigh you down. Trust allows space for curiosity instead of fear. My beloved child, what is unfolding has been forming long before you noticed it. Pieces have been aligning quietly. Lessons have been integrating. Healing has been preparing you. Now the outward movement is beginning to reflect the inner shifts you have already made. That is why this phase feels different. You are not forcing change. You are allowing it. You may be tempted to look back and compare this unfolding to past experiences. Resist that urge. This season does not require the same strategies, defenses, or urgency. You are not who you were then. Applying old methods to new growth will only create tension. Trust that what worked before is not required now. You are also learning to trust yourself, to recognize when something feels aligned, to notice when peace accompanies a decision. That inner trust is not arrogance. It is wisdom formed through experience. I am not removing your discernment. I am refining it. My beloved child, trust does not mean nothing will challenge you. It means challenges will no longer define you. They will not derail you the way they once did. You will meet them with steadiness instead of fear, with presence instead of panic. That is the fruit of trusting the unfolding. There will be moments when you want to rush ahead and moments when you want to pull back. In both, return to stillness. Stillness will recalibrate you. It will remind you that you are not navigating this alone. Guidance is not absent when answers are delayed. It is simply quieter. You do not need to see the entire path to trust it. You only need to take the step in front of you with honesty. Each honest step builds confidence. Each aligned choice strengthens trust. Over time, what once felt uncertain will feel natural. My beloved child, trust what is unfolding because it is not unfolding against you. It is unfolding for you. Even now, things are aligning beyond your awareness. Stay present. Stay open. Stay grounded. You are being led with care, and you will not be asked to go where grace has not already prepared the way. My beloved child, I want to speak directly to a thought that has weighed heavily on you, even when you tried to dismiss it. The thought that you are behind. Behind in life. Behind in purpose. Behind in becoming who you were meant to be. This belief has followed you quietly, comparing your journey to others, measuring your progress against timelines that were never meant for you. Let me gently remove that weight now. You are not behind. You learned to see life as a race without realizing it. Milestones became markers of worth. Age became a measuring stick. Achievements became proof of value. So when your path unfolded differently, when progress came in ways that could not be easily displayed or explained, you assumed you had fallen short. But timing is not universal. Growth is not standardized. And your journey was never meant to mirror another's. My beloved child, delay does not mean denial. Slow does not mean wrong. Quiet does not mean insignificant. Much of your most important growth happened internally, away from applause and recognition. You were learning discernment while others learned visibility. You were building resilience while others built momentum. You were healing while others were performing. These are not lesser accomplishments. They are foundations. You were never late to your own life. You arrived exactly when you were meant to, carrying experiences that shaped your depth, not diminished it. What looks like delay from the outside is often precision from within. I was not rushing you because what you are becoming requires integration, not speed. You may look at others and assume they are ahead because their lives look settled or successful. But appearance does not reveal alignment. Many move quickly and spend years undoing what haste created. You were being spared that. You were being shaped to move forward without needing to backtrack. My beloved child, your timing is not accidental. Every season you lived through prepared you for the next one. Even the pauses serve a purpose. They allowed you to reflect, to heal, to refine your understanding of what truly matters. If you had arrived sooner, you might not have been ready to sustain what you longed for. You are not catching up. You are arriving prepared. There is a difference. Catching up implies deficiency. Arriving prepared implies intention. I have been working with you, not against the clock, but with care. I value depth over speed, wholeness over haste. You may feel pressure rising when you think about the future. Questions about what you should have done by now. Expectations you feel you failed to meet. Release those now. They were never assigned to you by me. They were borrowed from a world that equates worth with productivity. My beloved child, there is no expiration date on purpose. There is no deadline on becoming. You are not too late to begin, to change, to choose differently. You are not disqualified by time. You are informed by it. Time has been your teacher, not your enemy. The path ahead of you does not require you to rush to make up for lost time. It invites you to walk forward with clarity. What unfolds next will not demand frantic effort. It will respond to alignment. You will move steadily, confidently, without the anxiety of being left behind. You are not behind because you have not missed anything meant for you. What belongs to you will meet you at the right moment. It will recognize you because you are ready to receive it without fear, without distortion, without losing yourself. My beloved child, let this truth settle deeply within you. Release comparison. Release false timelines. Release the quiet shame that whispers you are late. You are exactly where you need to be to take the next step with wisdom and peace. You are not behind. You are on time. And what is ahead of you is not rushing away. It is waiting to meet you as you are now, whole, aware, and ready. My beloved child, I want you to lift your eyes now, gently, without strain, and see beyond where you are standing. This is not the end of your story. What you are living right now is a chapter, not a conclusion. It may feel heavy at times or uncertain or incomplete, but incompleteness is not failure. It is simply evidence that the story is still being written. There were moments when you feared that certain doors closing meant everything had ended, that missed opportunities defined your future, that choices made in pain sealed your fate. But endings that come too soon are rarely true endings. They are transitions disguised as loss. They make space for what could not exist before. You learn to brace yourself against disappointment, telling yourself not to hope too much so you would not be hurt again. You treated hope as something dangerous, something that needed to be rationed. But hope is not reckless when it is rooted in truth. It is resilient. It rises again even after being wounded. My beloved child, your life is not narrowing. It is unfolding. Even now, possibilities are forming that you cannot yet see. They are not dependent on past perfection or flawless decisions. They are emerging from who you are becoming. Growth creates options. Healing opens doors. Awareness invites new paths. You may still feel the weight of unfinished dreams, ideas that never took shape, desires you buried because they felt unrealistic or too late. Do not assume those dreams died. Some dreams rest until the right season arrives. Some transform into something deeper, wiser, and more aligned than you originally imagined. You are not running out of time. You are stepping into timing. What lies ahead does not require you to replicate the past or correct it. It invites you to move forward with intention, informed by experience but not imprisoned by it. My beloved child, the future does not demand that you arrive fully confident. It asks only that you remain open. Openness allows growth to continue. It allows new connections to form. It allows joy to enter without fear. Closing yourself off may feel protective, but it also limits what can reach you. There will be chapters ahead that feel lighter than this one. Moments where laughter returns without effort. Connections that feel mutual instead of draining. Work that aligns with your values instead of exhausting them. These are not fantasies. They are natural outcomes of the work you have been doing within yourself. You may not recognize yourself fully in the future version of you, and that is a good thing. Growth changes how you see, respond, and choose. But you will recognize the peace. You will recognize the steadiness. You will recognize the absence of constant inner conflict. Those are signs that you continued forward instead of giving up. My beloved child, do not rush to escape the present chapter. Let it teach you. Let it shape you. Every chapter has a purpose, even the ones that feel slow or uncomfortable. They prepare you for what comes next in ways comfort never could. This is not the end of your story because you are still learning, still healing, still choosing. As long as you are willing to stay present, to listen, to adjust, the story continues. And it continues with depth, not repetition. There is more ahead than behind you, even if it does not feel that way yet. The path may twist, but it does not disappear. You are not walking toward emptiness. You are walking toward expansion. My beloved child, hold this truth close. You are not at the end. You are in the middle of becoming. And what lies ahead carries purpose. connection, and peace that you could not have accessed before now. Stay open. Stay hopeful. Stay grounded. The story is still unfolding, and the chapters ahead hold more life than you can imagine. My beloved child, stay close to this voice. Not because you must cling in fear of losing it, but because closeness is where clarity continues to grow. You are not meant to hear me once and then walk alone. Guidance is not a single moment. It is a relationship that unfolds through listening, responding, and returning again and again. There were seasons when you searched everywhere for direction except within. You looked for signs outside of yourself because you did not yet trust what stirred quietly inside. But now you are learning that my voice is not distant. It does not compete for attention. It waits patiently to be noticed. Staying close simply means staying attentive. Staying close does not require constant effort. It requires presence. It means pausing before reacting. It means checking in with your spirit instead of rushing to please expectations. It means honoring the subtle sense of peace or resistance that rises when you consider your next step. These are not random feelings. They are communication. My beloved child, the more you stay close, the more familiar this guidance becomes. You will begin to recognize it not as an interruption, but as a companion. It will meet you in ordinary moments, not just in crisis, in conversations, in decisions, in quiet reflections that shift your direction gently instead of forcefully. You do not need to fear losing your way again. Even when you wander, even when you forget to listen, I do not withdraw. I remain available, steady, patient. Closeness is never fragile. It is restored the moment you turn your attention back without shame. There will be times when staying close means letting go of noise, stepping back from constant input, choosing silence over distraction. This is not withdrawal from life. It is recalibration. Silence allows truth to rise without distortion. In stillness, guidance becomes clearer. My beloved child, staying close will also require discernment. Not every voice that sounds confident carries wisdom. Not every opportunity that looks promising is aligned. Staying close helps you recognize what resonates with peace rather than pressure. The discernment will protect your energy and preserve your joy. You may notice that as you stay close, certain paths no longer appeal to you. Certain conversations feel draining. Certain expectations lose their power. This is not loss. This is clarity. When alignment deepens, excess naturally falls away. If these words are grounding you, let them move outward. Bless this message with a like so it can reach others who need reassurance that they are not alone. Share it with someone who is searching quietly for direction. And yes, hype this video so it rises and finds hearts that are ready to listen. Stay connected by subscribing, because this voice will continue to meet you in seasons ahead, offering guidance, peace, and truth. My beloved child, as you remain close, I am inviting you to act in alignment with what you feel stirring now. I say to you, as living water flows where channels are opened, let this message flow beyond you into lives that are still waiting for hope. I am speaking to you personally in this moment. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link found in the description and shown through the QR code, you are lighting paths for souls who feel lost in silence. This is not a transaction. It is a prophetic response. I bless your giving and declare that what you release will return to you as peace, provision, and multiplied clarity. Do not delay obedience. Act now and help carry this voice to places you may never see, but I already know. My beloved child, now I ask you to let this truth settle, not to analyze it, not to rush forward with it, but to allow it to rest within you like something precious placed gently into your hands. Truth does not need to be forced to work. It unfolds naturally when given time and space. Let it sink beneath the surface of your thoughts and anchor itself in your heart. You have spent much of your life moving quickly from one moment to the next, carrying lessons without fully integrating them. Survival required speed. Reflection felt like a luxury you could not afford. But now, you are in a season where settling is not only possible, it is necessary. Settling allows truth to transform you rather than simply inform you. You may feel an urge to act immediately, to change everything at once, to prove that this revelation has impacted you. Pause. Growth does not require performance. Integration happens quietly. It reshapes your responses, your choices, your sense of self, without demanding constant action. My beloved child, let this truth soften the places within you that have remained tense for too long. You do not need to hold yourself together so tightly anymore. You are allowed to rest in understanding instead of striving for certainty. Let your body relax. Let your breath deepen. Peace begins here, not in the future, but now. And this truth settles. You may notice old thoughts rising to challenge it. Doubts that question whether this peace will last. Fears that suggest you will return to old patterns. Do not wrestle with those thoughts. Acknowledge them and let them pass. They are remnants of an earlier season, not indicators of your future. Settling also means allowing silence. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of presence. In this quiet, you may feel emotion surface gently. Gratitude, grief, relief. These emotions are not distractions. They are part of the settling process. Let them move through you without judgment. My beloved child, you do not need to rush toward the next revelation. There is wisdom in staying with what you have received. This truth will continue to unfold layers of meaning over time. What feels simple now may deepen later. What feels comforting now may become guiding wisdom in days to come. You are learning that peace is not something you chase. It is something you allow. It grows when you stop resisting it. It strengthens when you choose presence over distraction. Let this peace become familiar, so you can recognize it when life invites you back into busyness. As this truth settles, you may find yourself responding differently to situations that once unsettled you. You may notice less urgency, less self-criticism, less fear-driven decision-making. These changes do not require announcement. They will speak for themselves through your steadiness. My beloved child, settling does not mean stagnation. It means grounding. A tree grows taller because its roots go deeper. In the same way, your next steps will be steadier because you allowed this truth to take root. Rushed growth collapses under pressure. Grounded growth endures. You may be tempted to explain this shift to others, to justify your calm, to defend your new pace. You do not need to. Let your peace be your explanation. Those who are meant to understand will recognize it without words. Take this moment as an invitation to be gentle with yourself. You are not behind. You are not confused. You are integrating. Integration is sacred work. It cannot be hurried or measured, only honored. My beloved child, let this truth settle deeply. Carry it with you into ordinary moments. Let it influence how you speak to yourself, how you rest, how you choose. This is not a fleeting insight. It is a foundation being laid. And from this foundation, everything that follows will be steadier, clearer, and filled with peace. My beloved child, I want you to understand something deeply now, something that may shift how you see yourself in this moment. You were chosen for this moment, not because you are flawless, not because you have all the answers, but because you are ready in ways that truly matter. Readiness is not perfection. It is willingness. It is awareness. It is the courage to stand present without hiding from truth. You once believed that being chosen meant being singled out for greatness in ways that felt heavy and intimidating. You thought it required certainty, confidence, and an unshakable sense of direction. So when you felt unsure, when your confidence wavered, you assumed you were not ready. But I do not choose based on how loudly you declare strength. I choose based on how deeply you are willing to listen. This moment did not arrive randomly. It came after seasons of refinement, questioning, healing, and growth. Each experience shaped your capacity to hold truth with humility. Each challenge strengthened your discernment. Each pause taught you patience. These qualities cannot be rushed or manufactured. They are formed over time, and you carry them now. My beloved child, you were chosen because you can feel without being overwhelmed. You can reflect without collapsing into regret. You can stand in uncertainty without running from it. These are not small things. They are signs of maturity. They show that you are capable of moving forward with wisdom rather than impulse. You may look at others and wonder why they seem more prepared, more confident, more visible. But visibility is not the same as readiness. Confidence can be learned quickly. Depth cannot. You have depth because you have lived, endured, questioned, and integrated. That depth allows you to move forward without losing yourself. Being chosen does not mean being pressured. It does not mean you must perform or produce something extraordinary immediately. It means you are aligned with what is unfolding. It means your inner world is steady enough to support the next step without fracturing. I am not placing a burden on you. I am acknowledging your readiness. My beloved child, this moment is not asking you to rush ahead. It is asking you to stand where you are with clarity, to recognize that you are no longer the person you once were. You have outgrown old fears, old narratives, old limitations. You may not feel dramatically different, but you are more grounded, more aware, more present. You were chosen for this moment because you are willing to move forward gently. You are not driven solely by urgency or validation. You are learning how to respond instead of react. You are learning how to listen before acting. These qualities will guide you more faithfully than ambition ever could. Do not let doubt convince you that you need more time to be worthy of what comes next. You have had the time you needed. Do not let fear tell you that readiness requires certainty. Certainty grows through movement, not before it. You are ready because you are willing to trust the unfolding rather than control it. My beloved child, being chosen also means being supported. You are not stepping into this moment alone. Guidance surrounds you. Wisdom rises within you. Peace steadies you. You do not need to carry everything yourself. You are allowed to lean into what had been preparing you all along. There may still be parts of you that feel unsure, parts that want reassurance. That is human. Do not wait for those parts to disappear before you move forward. Bring them with you gently. Readiness does not mean fear is absent. It means fear no longer decides. This moment is not about proving yourself. It is about showing up honestly. It is about allowing what has been forming within you to express itself naturally. You do not need to force anything. You only need to remain present and responsive. My beloved child, you were chosen for this moment because you are ready to walk forward with integrity, humility, and trust. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but faithfully. And that is more than enough. My beloved child, As you move forward now, I ask you to walk gently, not cautiously out of fear, but gently out of wisdom. You have spent so much of your life pushing, striving, and holding yourself to expectations that left little room for grace. This next stretch of your journey does not require force. It requires awareness. Gentleness is not hesitation. It is intentional movement guided by trust. You once believed that progress demanded urgency, that if you slowed down, you would lose momentum or fall behind. So you learned to move quickly, to decide fast, to override your own signals when they suggested rest or reflection. But haste often silences wisdom. Gentleness allows it to speak. Walking gently means listening before acting. It means honoring the pace that keeps you grounded instead of the one that impresses others. It means allowing space for course correction without shame. You are no longer proving endurance. You are practicing alignment. My beloved child, you do not need to charge ahead to show courage. Courage sometimes looks like restraint. It looks like saying no when yes would cost you peace. It looks like pausing when rushing would lead you away from yourself. This gentle way of walking is not a step backward. It is a step deeper. There will be moments when old habits urge you to rush, to fix, to control outcomes. When that urge rises, return to stillness. Ask yourself what feels steady rather than what feels urgent. Steadiness will always lead you closer to truth. Urgency often leads you back to fear. Walking gently also means being kind to yourself when you misstep. You are not required to navigate perfectly. Learning happens through experience, not avoidance. When something does not go as planned, do not collapse into self-criticism. Adjust it. Reflect. Continue. Gentleness allows learning without punishment. My beloved child, you are not fragile, but you are human. You will have days where energy wanes and clarity feels distant. Walking gently means you do not abandon yourself on those days. You slow down instead of pushing harder. You rest without guilt. You trust that momentum returns naturally when you honor your limits. This gentler pace will change how you experience life. You will notice more, feel more present, respond with intention rather than reaction. You will begin to recognize the quiet joys that urgency once obscured. Joy thrives in gentleness. Peace deepens there. Walking gently also affects how you relate to others. You will feel less need to explain yourself, less pressure to defend your choices. You will allow people to misunderstand without trying to correct every perception. Gentleness creates boundaries without aggression. It protects your energy while keeping your heart open. My beloved child, the path ahead does not require you to harden yourself. It invites you to remain soft without becoming unsafe. You are learning how to balance openness with discernment. That balance grows when you move gently, checking in with your inner sense of alignment. Do not mistake gentleness for stagnation. Rivers carve valleys not through force but through steady flow. In the same way, your life will move forward powerfully through consistent, aligned steps rather than dramatic pushes. You may feel tempted to look ahead and plan every detail. Release that pressure. Planning has its place, but presence has greater power. When you walk gently, you stay responsive to what unfolds. You adjust without panic. You move forward without losing your footing. My beloved child, trust this slower, softer way. It is not a detour. It is the path. It will lead you where force never could. As you walk gently forward, you will find that what is meant for you meets you without struggle, recognizes you without effort, and stays because it belongs. Keep walking. Keep listening. Keep honoring the pace that allows you to remain whole. This is how you move forward now, not driven by fear or pressure, but guided by wisdom, presence, and peace. My beloved child, I want you to know that what you have received is not the end of revelation. I am still revealing more to you, gently, patiently, in ways that meet you where you are. Truth is not delivered all at once because your life is not lived all at once. It unfolds in layers, each one arriving when your heart has space to receive it without fear. You once believed that revelation meant a single moment of clarity that would answer every question and remove all uncertainty. But revelation is relational. The further you grow, what you understand now prepares you for what you will understand later. Nothing is withheld from you. It is simply timed with care. There are insights forming within you that have not yet reached words. You feel them as subtle shifts, as quiet knowing, as changes in how you see yourself and the world. These are not incomplete thoughts. They are truth still taking shape. Just as dawn does not arrive all at once, understanding rises gradually, lighting one part of the landscape at a time. My beloved child, do not grow impatient with what you do not yet see clearly. Impatience does not speed revelation. Presence does. When you stay grounded in what you already know to be true, more clarity naturally follows. Truth builds upon truth. Peace makes room for deeper insight. You may notice that new questions are emerging even as old ones fade. This does not mean you are regressing. It means you are expanding. Growth always brings new curiosity. The difference now is that these questions no longer feel threatening. They feel inviting. They signal readiness for more depth. I am revealing more to you through your experiences, not just through words. Through how situations feel different than they once did. Through how you respond with steadiness instead of panic. Through how you sense alignment without needing external validation. These lived revelations shape you more deeply than information ever could. My beloved child, some truths will come quietly during ordinary moments, while you are resting, while you are reflecting, while you are simply being present. Do not overlook these moments because they lack drama. What changes you most often arrives gently. There will also be moments when understanding arrives suddenly, when something clicks and you realize you see differently now. Welcome those moments without clinging to them. Revelation is not something you possess. It is something you participate in. You stay open, and it continues to flow. You do not need to fear missing what is meant for you. What is revealed at the right time cannot be missed. It will meet you where you are, shaped by your readiness. Your task is not to chase insight, but to remain receptive. My beloved child, as more is revealed, you may find yourself shedding beliefs that once felt solid. This is not loss. It is refinement. Truth does not destroy what is good. It clarifies what is essential. You are not being stripped. You are being aligned. You may also notice that some revelations feel less like answers and more like peace. That is because understanding does not always arrive as explanation. Sometimes it arrives as rest, as the quiet confidence that you do not need to know everything to move forward faithfully. I am still revealing more because your journey is still unfolding. You have not reached a plateau. You are not finished growing. Each season will bring what that season requires. You are not expected to carry tomorrow's understanding today. My beloved child, stay curious without being anxious. Stay open without being demanding. Stay grounded without becoming rigid. This posture allows revelation to continue flowing naturally, without strain or fear. As you move forward, trust that clarity will come when it is needed. Guidance will arrive when a decision must be made. Insight will deepen as your capacity expands. You are not walking blindly. You are walking with unfolding light. I am still revealing more to you, not because you lack something now, but because growth is ongoing. And each new revelation will meet you with the same gentleness, love, and care that has guided you all along. My beloved child, I want you to hold this close to your heart now, not as something fragile you must protect with fear, but as something sacred you honor with care. What you have received is not meant to be debated endlessly or exposed to every opinion. Some truths are meant to be carried quietly until they become strong enough to stand on their own within you. You have a tender awareness now, a deeper sensitivity to what feels true and what does not. Guard that gently, not by building walls, but by choosing what you allow to influence you. You do not owe every thought your attention. You do not owe every voice access to your inner world. Discernment is an act of love toward yourself. There will be moments when others speak from their own fear, their own urgency, their own unresolved questions. Their words may be loud, confident, or convincing, but loudness does not equal truth. Confidence does not equal alignment. Hold close what resonates with peace, even if it cannot yet be fully explained. My beloved child, you are learning that not everything needs to be shared immediately. Some understandings grow stronger in quiet reflection. Some insights deepen through lived experience rather than discussion. Allow yourself the space to integrate without pressure to translate everything for others. Holding this close also means returning to it when doubt arises. Doubt may still visit you. It does not mean you have lost your way. It simply means your mind is adjusting to new ground. When doubt appears, do not argue with it aggressively. Gently remind yourself of what you know to be true. Return to the steadiness you have felt. Let that steadiness speak louder than uncertainty. You may feel tempted to rush ahead, to act quickly on everything you have received. Pause. Not every truth requires immediate action. Some truths reshape you quietly before they guide your steps. Let wisdom mature. Let clarity settle. Action taken from integration is far more effective than action taken from excitement alone. My beloved child, hold this close by nurturing your inner stillness. Make space for quiet moments where reflection is possible. In stillness, truth is reinforced. In busyness, it can become blurred. You do not need to withdraw from life, but you do need moments where you reconnect with what grounds you. You are also learning how to trust your own inner compass. That trust grows when you honor it consistently. When you listen and respond gently. When you choose alignment over approval. Each time you do, your confidence deepens without becoming rigid. Holding this close means allowing it to influence how you speak to yourself. Replace harshness with compassion. Replace pressure with patience. Replace fear with curiosity. These internal shifts protect what is forming within you more effectively than any external defense. My beloved child, you do not need to fear losing this understanding. What is truly integrated cannot be taken from you. It may evolve. It may deepen. But it will not disappear. Truth that is lived becomes part of who you are. As you move forward, you will encounter situations that test this truth. Moments that invite you back into old patterns. When that happens, return inward. Not to judge yourself, but to remember. Remember how this peace felt. Remember how clarity settled when you stopped striving. That remembrance will guide you back. Hold this close, not as a burden, but as a companion. Let it walk with you into conversations, decisions, and quiet moments alike. Let it inform your pace, your boundaries, your expectations. My beloved child, you are not required to defend what is forming within you. You are only asked to honor it. Carry it with gentleness. or attacked it with wisdom. Allow it to grow naturally. What you hold now will continue to support you as you step forward. It will steady you when things feel uncertain. It will remind you of who you are when noise tries to distract you. Keep it close to your heart, and it will guide you faithfully into what comes next. My beloved child, we have come to the closing of this message, but not to the end of what is unfolding in you. What you have heard was never meant to be consumed and left behind. It was meant to be received, carried, and lived. This revelation was not about urgency alone. It was about alignment, about timing, about love meeting you exactly where you are. You were not drawn here by accident. You were guided. Every word you received was shaped with care, paced with wisdom, and spoken with gentleness because your heart is no longer in survival mode. You are ready for truth that does not wound, direction that does not pressure, and love that does not demand performance. That is what has been revealed to you. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are becoming aware, grounded, and steady. What once confused you is losing its power. What once frightened you no longer defines you. You are learning how to listen, how to trust, how to walk forward without abandoning yourself. This is not small. This is sacred. Carry this with you into your days, into your decisions, into your quiet moments and your uncertain ones. Let it remind you that you are held. Let it guide you back to peace when noise tries to pull you away. You do not need to write. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to remain present and receptive. My beloved child, before I bless you and release you forward, hear me in this final invitation. I am asking you to help carry this voice further. There are souls who are weary, confused, and quietly searching, just as you were. I say to you now, as I speak life into your path, that those who sow into light become channels of light themselves. This message is a living seed, and when you release a seed, a harvest follows. I am speaking to you personally now. Support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal donation links found in the video description and shown in QR code format in this video. This is not about giving to a platform. This is about opening rivers so my voice reaches hearts that may never find words for their pain. I bless your giving as an act of obedience, and I command peace, provision, and clarity to rest upon you. Act now. Release the seed. Let this message go where I have already prepared the ground. My beloved child, I bless you now. I bless your mind with calm. I bless your heart with assurance. I bless your path with clarity and your steps with steadiness. May you walk forward without fear. May you rest without guilt. May you trust without striving. What is ahead of you will meet you gently, because you are no longer walking in resistance, but in alignment. Stay close. Stay open. Stay grounded in love. Amen.